From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy. The federal NDP is accusing the Trudeau government of putting measures in place that hinder the evacuation and relocation of Canadians' relatives from conflict zones. They say not a single person has been resettled from Sudan, where a civil war broke out last spring. The Sudanese family members note that officials say their relatives will not reach Canada until the end of next year, citing delays with fingerprinting and other biometric requirements. It's unclear if any of the relatives have arrived from the Gaza Strip as the Israel-Hamas war churns on, months after launching programs for Canadians to get their loved ones out of those emergency situations. The federal government's new cybersecurity strategy has been revealed, aiming at protecting the nation's vast array of computer systems and information banks. The plan says the government's progress in improving cybersecurity in recent years has been notable, but the threat from online criminals is also growing. Cyber attacks can have a significant effect on government operations, either through disruption of critical or essential services and through the exposure of classified or personal information. The Manitoba government has bowed to pressure and restored some of its budget cuts to its summer job program. The NDP government had cut $4 million this year from the Green Team program, which helps nonprofit groups and municipalities hire young people in the summer. After some organizations spoke out, the government is adding $300,000 to the program. Trevor King, municipal relations critic for opposition Tories, says the cuts have hurt.
So a number of my municipalities have reached out to me. Some of them did receive some funding. It was cut in half. Some were cut to actually a third.
King says the Tories will continue to push for more funding to be added. A new report is proposing the City of Toronto only move to clear homeless encampments as a last resort. Toronto's Shelter and Support Services Department is set to present the report to a municipal committee next week, recommending an outreach model be expanded to focus on moving those in encampments to housing. Last year, Toronto's ombudsman found the city caused unnecessary strife for those living in parks when it cleared 3 homeless encampments in the summer of 2021. WestJet Airlines has plans to soon introduce a new and cheaper fare category that would be available to travelers who are willing to fly without a carry-on bag.
WestJet says the new ultra-low price offering will appeal to travelers seeking the lowest fares, but it will also free up highly coveted overhead bin space. Travelers who purchase the cheapest fare will not have the option to put a bag in the overhead bins, though they can still store a backpack or purse underneath the seat in front of them. WestJet acknowledged having large numbers of passengers jockeying for limited overhead bin space has become a problem on full flights. The airline says the new fare category will be introduced within a couple of weeks. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
This is The Canadian Press. In sports, the NHL's Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight at Madison Square Garden, where the New York Rangers will host the Florida Panthers. Florida is looking to advance to the Stanley Cup Final for a second straight year, while the Rangers were last there 10 years ago. The Western Conference Final begins tomorrow, with Dallas hosting the Edmonton Oilers. The Toronto Blue Jays will host the Chicago White Sox in a rubber match of a 3-game series. It's the end of a 6-game homestand for Toronto, which hasn't won a series since taking a 3-round set against San Diego that ended April 21st. Chris Bassett starts on the mound for the Jays. Dallas and Minnesota kick off the WNBA's Western Conference Final in Minneapolis tonight. It's an unlikely matchup between the 5th-seeded Mavericks and the 3rd-seeded Timberwolves. Dallas made the conference final by upsetting the Los Angeles Clippers for the top-ranked Oklahoma City Thunder. The Timberwolves won a 7-game series against the Nuggets last round by beating last year's champions 3 times in Denver. From the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.